Chapter 1. You are listening at FameTV.info. Annie was lucky. Curiously, most of what she says becomes real. That's why people around her often make ridiculous requests. My lady, Carla will only walk a path full of riches until the end of her life. Can you say it? Lady Tsev, do me. You will meet a crazy handsome guy who is only good to you and will live happily ever after. Oh, and also good in bed too. Lady Annie, for me, I need you to win the first prize in the lottery. Oh, she's tired of it. Whenever that happens, Annie would shed tears instead of answering, but people's doubts never stop. Annie, aren't you really blessed by a goddess? Be honest with me. Say it. Because of your words, the designer Sanal was naturalized as Porkos. Sanal was a designer with a nose as high as the roof of the cathedral that towers over the capital. In the meantime, the neighboring powers around her had offered her all sorts of conditions to take her away, but it was an iron castle where none could take her away. An arrogant genius who rejected all good conditions by Annie's motherland, Porkos, and its long-time rival, Harknan. Like most brilliant artists, the free-spirited Sanal tried to remain neutral. However, Annie recently said, it would be an honor if Sanal D. Zainer came to the Porkos Empire. Shortly after saying it, Sanal became a Porkos citizen. Annie's neighbors enthusiastically said that Goddess Silva's made her wish come true. Anyway, Sanal's naturalization flipped the entire continent. When reporters asked her if the reason for moving was for money, Sanal responded briefly and boldly, "A man's true love moved me." People even speculated that Sanal had fallen in love with the people of the Porkos Empire. Why was it important? Annie was just one of her biggest fans and used to write fan letters all night long. Sanal began her activities in many ways with the full support of the Porkos imperial family. With her outstanding aesthetic sense, she was originally unique, but she began various activities by designing various accessories such as bags, shoes, and clothes. The designer Sanal, who received the light of Porkos, made a brilliant name like a precious purple crystal. Thanks to this, she held a discount event for her own citizens, saying that she wanted to repay the country, and all her goods dropped to half price. Annie's favorite dress waistband was also designed by Sanal. The waistband that wrapped around her chest was a cream-colored silk with a beautiful silver cubic. Lady Annie, the lemon tart at the Capital Bakery is on discount. Buy one and you get one more. Great! Annie threw the book she had been reading and entered the black carriage. It was a huge bakery that had never held an event in half a century. But this time, they had put one item on discount. Isn't that the magical lemon tart that wakes you up even while you're sleeping? While Annie had refrained from paying such an evil amount even if she could afford it, the news of the discount pulled Annie's lips upward. When she thought of that fantastic sour feeling, she could feel herself drooling. In the carriage on the way to the capital, Carla, her maid, continued to chatter in an excited voice. On their way to the capital, Carla, her maid, chattered excitedly. My lady said before that you want to get a discount here, right? Oh my gosh! Again, my lady's wish came true. That's really amazing. Yes. Annie nodded, her face swollen in anticipation. Usually, she would have responded profoundly that it was a coincidence, but her dizzying anticipation for the lemon tart clouded her judgment. Since then, the Tsev family kitchen had to prepare a plate of lemon tart at least 3 times a week. What Annie says comes true, no matter how trivial it is. For example, and butter bread is a magical bread. We have to reward the person who made it. When she did, that chef really won the Empire's 3-star awards and a big prize. When Annie heard it, she smiled happily and said, "He's a person who deserves it." There was also a small business that Annie started because the family's finances were staggering. At that time, Annie was invested by a resourceful businessman who succeeded and settled all of her family's debt at once. That's not all. When Annie said she wished that her preferred dressing room would provide her clothes, bag, shoes, and others for free, it became true. All the clothes and miscellaneous goods have been given to her for free for over a year as long as she would review the fit of those clothes. Anyway, Annie is incredibly lucky these days. It has been about 7 years. Initially, she had lived a boring life, but from a certain point onward, it only turned into a never-ending road of UPS. It was troublesome, but it Was fun. Annie sometimes squeezed her hands as if she was praying to the sky. Thank you, Goddess Silvas. I will live nicely. Really, Annie is lucky. This is also very good except for one thing, men. Annie had terrible luck with men. Her fiancé of 6 years had abandoned her. When she moved to another country, there was no man who lined up for her that had a sane personality. She was going crazy. She couldn't wrap her head around the idea of being considered a failure unless she dated and married a man. Instead of choosing a spouse, shouldn't people be prioritizing free will? And no matter how hard she tried to persuade them, her family just forced Annie to deal with it. Annie, who was troubled by it, pulled out her sword to cut through this troublesome process all at once. I'm never getting married. Star. Listen to the full novel at FameTV.info, direct link in the description.